Now, how will that affect the ongoing case proceedings against Duterte? To answer that and more, we have ICC Assistant to Counsel Kristina Conti joining us via Zoom. Good morning to you, attorney.
Good morning, Gretchen.
Prosecution is one man down, and not just any man, but the chief himself, Karim Khan, the lead prosecutor. How big of a setback is this for prosecution?
Well, we're taking a cues from the statements of the Office of the Prosecutor and even the Presidency, and they tell us that business as usual before in the court, and then work continues across all situations. In the case of the Philippines, we'd also like to point out that, in fact, from the very beginning, the head of the Philippines Unified Team, as it appears, is Ma'am Manjiayen Yang himself. It's the deputy prosecutor from the very beginning who's been on case. And so if we think that, oh, he's going to be quote unquote replaced, no, someone's going to step up.
Okay, but do you think Karim Khan will be able to return and get back?
Well, I don't know because I'm not really very familiar with the gravity of the offense, but this is a big deal for us. This is sexual misconduct, and we welcome the stepping down of Karim Khan while the investigation is ongoing. And personally, I would have wanted him to step down as soon as the allegations were formally lodged, because this is serious. But then, this is practicality. I'm looking at July and August as traditional vacation months for Europeans. And so I think he'll be out of the picture for about 2 months until maybe July or August. So I'm not quite sure if he'll be back by September. If not, it will be Manjiayen Yang who will represent the prosecution during the hearing.
There are two deputies that are being named, Manjay Nang that you mentioned, and also Nazat Shamim Khan. What do we know about them?
Oh, I've looked up Manjiayen Yang, who is, I think, more relevant to our case. He's a Senegalese judge who also helped and was a judge at the International Criminal Tribunal in Lebanon and Yugoslavia as well. So he's very familiar both with domestic law, although it's Senegalese law, and international law. He's also an academic. He's written several articles, and from what it appears, he's a judge and therefore does not really have a prosecutorial background. But then I would appreciate this from an objective point of view, because now he would be focusing on evidence that is necessary to reach the threshold for conviction. So I think I'm comfortable with this kind of experience. But of course, as we always say, this is an imperfect institution. We have imperfect people. And so we work with whatever we have. We are so far seeing that the Philippines Unified Team, and this means it's the lawyers plus the investigators, are on track delivering disclosure of evidence. Although I will jump the gun and say ahead that there is a request by the prosecution to push back the deadline for this or the application for withholding of victims' information. So we think this is a soft deadline, but the prosecution is still on track in keeping with the general disclosure deadline of July 1, 2024. They're just asking for a little bit more time to prepare applications regarding withholding of victims' information, meaning which witnesses are comfortable with their names being put out, which witnesses have security considerations, and so forth.
Okay, so ibig sabihin, at some point, lahat ng witness maisisiwalat, no? Kailangan i-reveal dito sa defense para mapaghandaan nila.
Gretchen.
Oo,
Mm-mm.
oo.
At the minimum, ang itsura, kung hindi pangalan, it must be the content of the kumbaga, testimony. For example, we have one person who will testify as to this incident. Kahit hindi pangalanan, which is why we have that parang soft deadline nga about the withholding of witnesses' information for security considerations.
Okay. And who would be part of the witnesses? Does this include also law enforcement or policemen involved in the drug war?
Well, I'm not part of the prosecution team, but from what we read and from what we understand, so there's several kinds of witnesses and also there's security considerations. So first, there would be witnesses from about the incident. So that would be either victims or, and you're correct, law enforcement agents. At the same time, they could be considered as quote unquote insider witnesses, where they can talk about the pattern, paano yung instruction sa kanila, anong nangyari before and after ng insidente, inutusan ba sila, binayaran ba sila. And so we're expecting a few law enforcement officers. I can't say if in active duty still or retired or resigned, but certainly the ICC has not presented any case without insider witnesses. So we're pretty sure they have already talked to some.
So the prosecution is asking to extend beyond July 1, is what you're saying?
Oh, no, no.
Or July 1 is the extended deadline that they're
Kaya
asking
nila yung
for?
July 1, general
Okay.
disclosure. Kumbaga, magpalitan tayo ng information ng July 1. But then they said, may isasubmit kami ng May 23. Mag-a-apply na kami ng parang uh, request to withhold or applications to withhold witnesses' information. So they have a list of witnesses that they will present. They just need to talk to each one, check their
All right.
security lists, and then i-apply nila which ones whose names they will not disclose as of now. So kumbaga, they have a list, pero ang general rule, well, you submit the names, pero if there is any security consideration, some witnesses might not be comfortable giving their names, giving their locations, essentially. So the prosecution has to apply to withhold their names. Sabi ni prosecution, naku, hindi pa namin siguro nakausap lahat, hindi pa namin na-assess kasi may risk assessment yan. So can we just push back yung application to release the names? Pero they said definitely they will have the disclosures by July 1. And again, there's another deadline after July 1. It's July 4. That's when we will know what are the charges against Duterte. So parang ito yung information or yung sakdal.
And when the list of witnesses is disclosed to the defense, are they allowed to publicize that list? Or is it all under some confidentiality agreement?
It's, from what I understand, it's inter partes. So silang dalawa lang, between parties. It won't even be disclosed to victims. It won't be even disclosed to the judges, of course, they will see the names. But it won't be disclosed to any other group except the prosecution and the defense.
Okay, you mentioned that the two timelines, July 1 and July 4, but there's also a June 9 deadline, I believe, for the prosecution to respond to Duterte's request to dismiss charges based on lack of jurisdiction. Do we know where we're at there?
Oh, well, yes. So there are two preliminary matters actually before we can even talk about the case. So the July deadlines talks about the case. Kumbaga, ito na yung kaso mismo. Pero may argumento kasi yung Duterte camp na ay actually walang jurisdiction ang ICC na litisin yung kaso. Tapos may isa pa siyang habol, kumbaga. Actually, may magde-decide na judges tungkol sa jurisdiction. Ayaw nila na yung 2 out of 3 judges mag-decide doon. Kaya pinapa-disqualify nila. There's an earlier deadline in 2 days, May 22, deadline naman dun sa comments tungkol sa disqualification ng judges. Doon natin siguro more or less malalaman or dapat mag-rule bago ng July 9 kung sino ba ang pwedeng mag-discuss or mag-decide on jurisdiction. Kaya hopefully, if we stick to these deadlines, by July 1, July 9, and September 23, the preliminary issues of 1, that's the court of jurisdiction, and 2, who should decide on this issue, kasi pinapa-disqualify yung dalawang judges, have already been resolved, at least by the pre-trial check.
Before the case gets opened. Last question, for the confirmation of charges in September, is there a new set of judges?
So far, not yet. There's none yet. We have the same judges. And ako, I would say unlikely that they will be replaced or that this case will be reassigned to another pretrial chamber.
Oh, kasi meron akong naririnig before na parang there's no use because at some point the judges were harassed online, trolled a lot. Sinasabi, wala namang point yung paghaharas nyo sa kanila dahil ira-raffle off din, ibibigay din sa ibang
Oh,
murado. So, may
yes,
ganun
but
ba? Oo.
sorry. So that's right. So for the confirmation of charges hearing, baka siguro ano sila forward looking. For the confirmation of charges hearing, more or less, I think it will be the same judges. So you will have Yulia Motok, the French-speaking judge, still preside. But after, and if the court confirms the charges, it will be raffled off to a trial chamber. Yun yung
Okay.
in the long run, talagang mapapalitan itong mga judges na kausap natin or nakikita natin. If or when in our what we believe talagang magpupursue ito into or magre-ripen into a case or trial, there will be a different trial chamber which will hear the evidence in this case.
We got the next months to figure out those issues. But what's interesting to me is what you said a while ago, that July and August is for summer break. Kaya pala,
Yeah.
naurong ng September. Now I understand it. Maraming
Yeah.
salamat sa inyo, Attorney Kristina Conti, for explaining everything to us and shedding light on what's up next for the victims and also for the prosecution. Maraming salamat, ICC Assistant to Counsel Kristina Conti.